Welcome to episode 122 of the Feel Light, Mind, and Body podcast. Today's episode is a little bit different because I'm a guest on the Soul's Kitchen podcast, hosted by the beautiful Lisa Wilby. We just finished recording this, and I forgot to ask her what she's calling hers, but I'm titling this one More Than Weight Loss: How I Turned Pain into Purpose, because we dive deeper into the reason why, how this program evolved, how Feel Light, Mind, and Body and Clarinda's Empowerment Coaching got started. I loved being on Lisa's show because she's a beautiful soul, and she has experienced all of life's ups and downs, just like you and me. I also have to say that I love the title of her podcast, The Soul's Kitchen, because it's a metaphor for the inner work that we do. It's where the real nourishment happens, not just with food, but with purpose, connection, and passion. As you're listening or watching this today, I invite you to picture yourself in the conversation with us. Think about what you're grateful for, but also give yourself space to consider what area of your life would you like to pivot, or how have you pivoted and how has that benefited you? Also ask, what is it that I have a soul desire for? And what is my next step to take to make that happen, to honor it? Because feeling light isn't just about physical weight. That's often temporary. What makes it sustainable is when you feel lighter mentally and emotionally. That's the sustainable change that we're wanting and that you're going to hear me talk about in today's episode. You might be finding this podcast for the first time and think, well, why life coaching? I love adding in life coaching. I think it's a missing factor because we often eat over what? Things that are happening in our lives, things that we maybe haven't had the support or guidance to get us through without having to turn to food for relief or distraction, for a reward. Whatever reason it is, overeating is just simply eating when you're not hungry. This deeper level is nothing to be afraid of. It is going to increase your self-concept and your self-confidence, making everything else easier and enjoyable. If something I say today resonates with you personally, or you can think of how it might add value to your workplace or community, please reach out. These conversations around the table, whatever size that might be, that's where the energy is. That's where we feel so good at the empowering steps we can take, as well as the ripple effects it has on our families. It's empowering to be part of that process of solving real problems and making a greater impact. If you enjoy this style of soulful, real conversations, then definitely follow Lisa, The Soul's Kitchen, on YouTube. I'll link her podcast up in today's show notes. And as always, I'm open to podcast guests and topics, so don't hesitate to reach out. Okay, grab yourself a tall glass of water and let's dive in.
Welcome, episode 18. I had to look. Wow, 18, Clarinda. Lucky number for you.
We'll say it is today.
Okay, so episode 18 of the Soul's Kitchen podcast. I'm here with Clarinda Price of Clarinda's Empowerment Coaching, and actually so much more. Clarinda, you also have a podcast too.
Yes.
Feel Light, Mind, and Body. Sorry, I just keep looking at my notes there because my memory these days. And Clarinda, you're also so much more. You're a former nurse. And I know your whole life has been about health and wellness. And so here on the Soul's Kitchen podcast, I have conversations with people who are living their soul's desire or purpose. So
I love it.
thank you for joining me today. So we want to hear your story of how you came to be Clarinda's Empowerment Coaching.
You know, we're all so unique. So I love how you're saying that and why you're doing this, Lisa. So first of all, thank you for having me on. And if we can even begin to recreate the conversation, which we won't, we'll do something different, that we had over coffee. Like I left. Didn't you leave feeling full?
I did.
Yeah, we had
that. And that's
coffee, but
part of the reason why I'm doing these conversations. I want to hear people's stories. I think it's important, especially in our community and now, and what people are doing. I don't know, who's watching, but you never know. Even if it helps one person, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
even though I may have like more podcast episodes, you're inspiring me to do more
Oh,
interview style as well.
well,
So
thank
because
you.
there's,
Yeah.
for me on my end, there's just more of a tech part of it. And I always like to
Yeah.
say I'm a little bit short circuit in my tech ability.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
growth mindset, so I keep going. Wow. Okay.
Yes. Tell us. Well, your podcast is great, but however you're doing it. But yes, tell us. Um, I don't know where you want to start at the beginning. I know you were a nurse. I guess you're still a nurse.
No,
Yes, or
well,
no?
I'm a retired nurse
You're a
now.
retired nurse. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So I would have to go back to
Yeah.
when I was probably 8, 9, 10 years old.
Mm.
It's really
I love
come,
that.
my inspiration is from what I didn't like,
Mm.
what I ached as a kid for to try to help and change. I'm going to get teary,
Oh,
but
that's
but
okay.
I watched my mom struggle
Mhm.
big time with her weight, and it
Okay.
wasn't just physical weight. It was the emotional weight, the roller
Mhm.
coasters, all of the cabbage diets, the banana diets, like literally I could
Mm.
back and through all of the different things that she's done. Grapefruit diet as well.
Yeah, I
And
remember that one.
mood swings, like everything that would
Mhm.
happen. And then just watching the dynamics between my dad wanting to support her, but being concerned for her. And
Mhm.
I won't go into it. There's just so much more that happened through my teen years. But that was part of me trying to be a people pleaser and trying to make
Mhm.
everything work well at home and not stress mom out because she was so stressed out. And
Mhm.
so I just didn't know how to fix it as a kid. So I would
Mhm.
fix pleasing, just making sure I was the perfect little girl.
Mhm.
And so as I went into high school, I remember, I think it was phys ed class, and we had the classroom component. And we were learning about the muscles and the organs, and mostly the muscles and the bones. And I was fascinated by
Okay.
it. And so that was my first kind of tweak that I know I want to do something with the body. And
Right.
I learned a little bit about the health, and I was trying to come home and share it with mom because, she'd done Weight Watchers and she just tried everything.
Mhm.
And it was always just a quick fix or a temporary fix. And it would,
Mm.
so then I remember going to university. I didn't know exactly what area. I just knew I wanted to help people and
Mhm.
I wanted to be in the health field, but I didn't really know. And I was scared of wasting, the money going
Mhm.
pure science first and just explored. So I remember thinking about physiotherapy and nursing was from what was it, like a 2020 episode? My friend and I, we were watching.
Yeah.
And what appealed to us is the diversity, like how many areas you could go, the option.
That's true. Yeah.
Just one area. So I thought, well, that's safe because if I change my mind or I don't like one area, I can always move to another.
Mhm. Mhm.
I did. I did the 4 years of nursing. When I graduated, I worked in orthopedics, psychiatry, some surgery, and then the ER. That was my favorite.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. So
Oh my goodness.
ER, I was able to do, all things. So that really, but it was really hard on my feet. I got plantar fasciitis.
Mm.
Doctor said, Clarissa, you need to get out of there. So
Uh,
from there, I moved to the university because I'd been instructing nursing students throughout that time as well.
okay.
So my last 13 years, I was at the university clinic, but also instructing at the hospital.
Oh wow.
So I remember it was on a lunch hour and I was running and it was my 35th birthday. So 20 years ago.
Mm.
And I was thinking, what haven't I done? Like I was contented, but yet I was discontented. When you
Mhm.
start that nudge, like there's
Mhm.
something else I'm supposed to be doing. How else can I help? And I was really
Mhm.
frustrated not being able to do as much preventative help as I wanted to.
Right.
And one of the reasons I went to the university is I thought, oh, good, I'll be able to teach students early, about their
Yeah.
health. But instead, we were still the time wise, right? With
Mhm.
cutbacks and everything. It was medications. And I could
I was
see
going to
these
say you probably had to stick to
kids.
the program of whatever they want,
Yeah,
and there was no preventative
right.
health in. Yeah.
Well, we would do some
A
teaching,
little bit.
whatever we could, like as I'm putting the blood pressure cuff on, I'm trying to talk to them about blood pressure and all of that. We were giving medications to kids, girls and guys, that I knew if I could help them lose weight, if we could get the weight off, they probably wouldn't need this blood pressure medication. So that was that area. So what I ended up doing is going into personal training. So I went part-time nursing and did part-time personal training. And I'm curious, I'm going to go on a tangent for a second. Is that where you and I first met? Is when we were teaching at Kingswood?
It
Or
was.
was it at your, because I was trying to think, I think that came first. And then I found you at your restaurant, or I supported you at the Cedar Tree.
Yes. I'm very bad with timelines, but I do know that we did meet at Kingswood first. Because
Okay.
I think I was teaching yoga and I was going there, and you would have been teaching fitness classes.
Yes.
And
Classes, boot camp style mostly.
yeah, and I went to your classes. I think
Yeah.
that's where we met. That's where, and then you probably started coming to the restaurant.
Right. Okay. That's
The
right.
restaurant was between 2009 and 2014. That timelines have. But
Okay.
before and after that.
Okay. We would have met before that.
Before that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's crazy.
That's,
And another thing I want to just say to all women, we don't see each other very often, right? At all. But when we did get together, it's like nothing has changed. And I think that's such a beautiful thing that maybe men have it as well, but I notice that in women, if we're having meaningful connections, if we're having meaningful conversations compared to just like, I'm not a superficial girl where I can just chit chat, that drains me.
Right. I feel the same. So
yeah. So I'll come back. I go on tangents sometimes.
All right. No, I like that. I like that.
So yeah, after doing the personal training, so I was able to, that fulfilled. I felt like this is what I'm supposed to do on the side. And I was able to teach through my classes. I would add in value. I always, especially when I did the 6 a.m. morning classes, I was able to add in more stretches, but more gratitude, more just love of nature and appreciation. And I would always have something I wanted to empower and inspire. It wasn't just about the body. I wanted to bring in the heart and the mind. So as I was doing that, and my clients would get, when I was doing, especially the one-on-one ones, getting great results. But there's when we find a problem, then it takes us to the next solution. So I had to think, why is it that they're getting such results, but from the exercise, but then when life happens, so it can be positive and negative things. So it could be, a job promotion, and then suddenly your workload, you're so engulfed in your work, you don't have time to work out, or it's a vacation and you're having a great time, but it's kind of that all or nothing thinking that our brain does, like dichotomy. And then they'd stop and they'd come back, and there'd be that rebound effect, which is hard on us emotionally. Like I think it's really hard on us, and it's hard on our self-confidence. So like the true self-confidence. And the other part is if someone gets sick or got injured, I would see the rebound. So I'm like, okay, there is a missing piece here. We need to, like, mindset is so out there everywhere, but there's pseudo mindset. Like there's just a very superficial mindset that's quite mainstream, but then there's a deeper mindset. And that comes from that's the inner inspiration rather than relying on the outer motivation. Because motivation is dependent on external, usually. Inspiration comes from living in your values, knowing your values, which health is a high value for me. So even when I don't feel like doing something or I want something else, if I can just pause and check in and come back, what is it that I value most? Yes, I can have it now. Yes, I'll enjoy it now. But what about my future, Clarinda? What about the person in the morning? What is she going to wish you had done? So one of my things I say to people is, are you willing to feel a little uncomfortable now so you can feel more comfortable later? And just those kind of empowering things that can help shift. It's just those gentle shifts. So I created a program. I invested big time in a coaching program that would give me life coaching as well as weight coaching. And I'll come back to, at some point, the first experience with life coaching and how something that could be a negative ended up being a very positive thing in my life. I'll come back to that. But so I developed a program, Feel Light, Mind and Body, because that's what I want it to be about, is how we feel the lightness rather than feel the heaviness that, remember, my mom I witnessed her
Mm-hmm.
feeling all those years. Which, by the way, I had my mom on a podcast with me, and even with
Oh,
dementia,
yeah.
ton of editing, but she shares part of her experience. 95 pounds when she got married because she's like 4'10" or 4'11",
Okay.
going out to 210 pounds. So
Okay.
we share. It's a little. I get a little bit emotional on that one as well. But
Okay. I want to go see that one. That's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's why I developed the program so that people can, if you're already exercising, you absolutely can continue exercising. But for
Mm-hmm.
those who maybe shouldn't be exercising much because they're
Mm-hmm.
full of inflammation, they have joint problems right now,
Mm-hmm.
or it's just too overwhelming to try to change everything,
Mm-hmm.
both fit in here. So, one of my classmates I graduated with lost 70 pounds without exercising. And why she joined is she said, I saw that you said, I don't have to exercise. So then once we get some of that off and she was no longer, a candidate for gastro bypass, then I was encouraging her to add in exercise.
Exercise.
Let's get going.
Okay.
So yes, move more, but there's a time and a place too for exercise. If I have to choose, I'm going to choose that you're going to learn and practice and integrate till it just becomes
Mm,
part of your identity, part of who you are, the mindset and the
right.
nutrition.
And because I keep thinking this quote, I think it was back at Kingswood with Richard St. Pierre, who said, you can't
Mhm.
exercise your way out of a bad diet. And that's so true.
Yes.
I've always remembered that. So if you're not
Yes.
eating well, sleeping well, all of those things, which I'm assuming that you have in your
Yes.
program, because
Yes.
without sleep, without enough water, without enough whatever, you can't really feel
That's right.
good about what you're doing.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so true. And I'll add on to that. You also can't willpower or white knuckle
Right.
yourself to do the nutrition. Because if you're
That is so
doing
true.
willpower is finite. And that's why we beat ourselves up. We're like, I know better. It's not a
Mm,
lack of information, Lisa. I mean, let's face it,
I
we can
know.
Google anything and
It's
get
so true.
information.
But it's confusing though, Corinda. Like, and this is why I think your
Absolutely.
program is so amazing because you take the confusion out of it. Um, it is confusing because, and I know a little bit about health, but I look at stuff and I'm like, oh my God, what am I
Mhm.
supposed to do
Mhm.
here? More
Mhm.
protein, more vegetables, more
No
water. No, you don't
protein,
need that much water. Um, you know, anyway, yeah.
no meat, lots of meat,
Right.
like all of it.
Yeah,
I know it's overwhelming and it's
it is.
frustrating. And here's the thing though, I don't have like a cookie cutter approach. It's very individualized.
Mm,
So again, using the scientific process, which is very simple when we look at it, we
mm-hmm,
start to look at what's working for Lisa. How's your body responding?
mm,
Depending on where you are in your hormonal cycle,
mm-hmm.
the whole phase of perimenopause and
Yes.
premenopause and menopause, all of that
Mhm.
changes.
It does,
So,
and it changes
w-
within too.
yes. So when we
During,
have that,
sorry,
yeah,
yeah,
that's okay. When we have that knowledge,
yeah,
then we can then integrate it, try it, and gain wisdom.
mm,
And so I have people who are vegans in it. I have people who like more protein. I have people
mm-hmm,
who want to extend their fasting. I call it extended fasting,
mm-hmm.
not intermittent
Intermittent
fasting,
fasting.
because I help women reset their hunger hormones.
Mm,
Once we do that, we can rely on ghrelin, leptin, insulin. We can rely on those. They're balanced. So then we actually know when we're hungry. We can actually use a hunger scale very simply and it be accurate. People who've tried it in
okay,
the past, if their hormones are out of whack, they're not getting true signals. So
right.
that's what makes everything else easier, I think. And my clients tell me the same thing. That and the mindset is huge.
The mindset is huge. Do you work with people like in groups, Clarenda, or individually, or both?
Both, both.
Both.
So
Okay.
I have like a VIP option. I have a lady from New York in that right now where
Mm,
we're
nice.
meeting one-on-one individually because there are times there's people have things that, maybe they don't want their privacy out there because they have a certain persona, they have a
Mm-hmm.
certain image they need to maintain, and maybe they're not into the vulnerable stages to be able to talk, or
Right.
maybe they just want all the focus on them, want 45 minutes to
Yeah.
have a cheerleader and someone who's going to
Right.
be looking from an outside perspective because we often can't see when
Mm-hmm.
we're in the middle of
This is
something.
so true. Mm-hmm.
So, but she also, as a VIP, has access and into the group coaching as a
Mm-hmm.
group.
Mhm.
And then others will choose just one-on-one without having the group. And
Mhm.
others will choose the group only. So
Right.
it's just, I get like to, I don't just like send someone the link. I'm like, let's get on a call. I
Mhm.
give 20 minutes free because I want to know what the individual
What Yeah,
needs and wants. If they want a quick fix, then I say, this isn't the
this
program
is
for you.
not it.
Don't waste your money with me if you want a quick
Mhm.
fix. If you want a lasting fix, I'm your coach. I'm ready for it.
Right. Awesome.
So, yes.
So you kind of I think, well, we didn't fast forward, but you kind of this has evolved for you, this
Mhm.
mind and body program has
Yes.
like
So
come.
when a challenge or a problem comes up in our lives, instead of
Mhm.
thinking and letting it weigh us down, I like to say, okay, what's this trying to tell me? What's my
Mm,
next step? What's my next level of evolvement? Where am I going to
right.
go? So for me, how I come back to how I discovered life coaching to begin with.
Yeah.
First of all, as a nurse, especially in mental health, I would have thought, I don't need life coaching.
Right.
I know the brain, I know all of this stuff, right? Because we
Mhm.
have a certain ego or pride that pops up
Yes.
consciously or unconsciously. But my whole world was shaken, as you may remember, 8 years ago now, 8 years ago, just this past week, if I think about it.
Mm.
Um, and had had to go through a divorce. So it was a long divorce. But
Mhm.
at the time, I was so shell shocked, maybe, and devastated.
Mhm.
And my friend Dom, who you just, I think, had on
Yeah.
podcast,
Yes.
she had a plus one that I could be invited, that she gave to me to come and join a life coaching weekend that was new to her as well.
Okay.
And so we went, and I was like, whoa, it was local. I
Mm.
was like, whoa, this is amazing. This is crazy. I didn't know this before.
Mm.
And it was a whole other way of looking at it. It was outside like the traditional health model that I knew as a nurse.
Okay.
And so that was my beginning step. And then from there, I went on with Brendan Bouchard, and I went on with the life coach school, which is Brooke Castillo, and
Okay.
then all of that. But it was my part of my evolvement. Now I look back. So something that felt so devastating, like the divorce,
Mm.
it's happened. Now I'm working with Dr. Trivedi, and he
Okay.
says, instead of thinking, life is happening for me, not against me, that's one way,
Right.
which is good. Although that does kind of put you in a bit of the ego when you're in there,
Mhm.
when you
Mhm.
can come to life is just happening along the way. It's not getting
I
up.
like that. Yeah.
That comes from gratitude within. So I
And
can
also, what can you learn from each situation?
Absolutely. There's
Mhm.
benefits and drawbacks to everything in life because that's just the way it is if we look for them. But
Yeah.
often all we can see is the drawbacks. When we
Right.
come to see the benefits of it, which might not be right in that moment. I
No,
wouldn't have
I was
found
gonna say,
any.
sometimes it's later when you have a little bit more
Absolutely.
perspective. Yeah. When you look
Absolutely.
back.
Yeah. I can remember one of my girlfriends saying to me when this all happened at first, like, I'm so excited for you. And I looked at her like she had three heads. I'm like, what the heck? You're excited?
Mm.
And then she had her reasons why, which I won't share.
Okay.
But
Okay.
that looking back now, I'm thankful for her and saying that,
Mhm.
because even though I was like almost appalled that she could think that
Right.
or say that, I look back now and it's like, yeah, I could not
Mhm.
see any benefit. And that's okay. Not to judge, compassionate, of course I do.
Right.
But
Yeah.
now I look at, because of that, I've helped probably thousands
Mm.
now of
Yeah.
women, like through the podcast, which is free, through my free
Mhm.
course, my paid course, through just conversations like this or over coffee and
Right.
family members. That I wouldn't have had, like, these are gifts, I think, that come through life as we evolve, as we take
Evolve.
challenge and not just hide. I wanted to just pull the covers up over my head. I
And
really
do you
did. And it's been there.
do you think, so before your marriage ended, and I wanna say this in a respectful way, or like, do you think are you saying that the divorce sort of propelled you into this other phase of your life, I guess? Because in the
Right.
marriage, it wasn't
Yeah, it's hard
doing
to
it?
say if I think I was in a comfy state,
Mm.
even if it
Or
was
when
a
you're
little.
talking about being uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah,
The
like,
divorce was uncomfortable, of course.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we get in a comfy state too, we
Yeah.
can just kind of,
Bathing.
what's a coast along, maybe is the
Mm-hmm.
word. We were
Mm-hmm.
just
Mm-hmm.
coasting, even though I felt
Yeah.
disconnected in so many ways. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's now I couldn't figure out why it was disconnected at the time.
Right.
Life was still good,
Mm-hmm.
and we weren't one to argue and fight or, none of that stuff at all. So
Right.
I always come back to, the glass half full. Well, this is the benefits of it. Like I could
Right.
see that while I was in it. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe I would have got into life coaching. Maybe not. I have no idea.
So was this the pivot for you? I think we
Yeah,
talking
I
about
think.
pivoting like from nursing into
Mhm,
now what you're doing, which is sort of your life's desire or
mhm.
purpose, because is
I
that
guess
kind of
in
a
my
pivot?
it is, and
Mm,
even pivoting again
mm,
because slightly, like, because
mhm,
I wanted to prove the program that you can lose weight and maintain, like,
mhm,
without exercising. Not that
mhm,
it's not good for you, like, even in my
mhm,
modules, but, it's there. But I wanted to make sure what I was saying, I always wanna practice what I preach.
mhm.
So I barely worked out for, like, 2 years,
And
like,
that's not like you.
no
Wow.
way, because
Wow.
I put it into my business, but
Mhm.
I used all the tools and the tactics that I teach, and I've maintained. I only fluctuate like 2 pounds, maybe 3 if it's like Christmas time. And
Wow.
and we could go on a whole other podcast, could be about the scale. And I'm actually
Mm.
gonna talk about that, I think, on next week's podcast
Okay.
a little bit.
Oh,
But yeah, so now because of all the anti-aging and because I've got that and I
mm,
can feel solid about that, I'm going back more into the weights. Just started with creatine again. I haven't taken creatine in years and years
okay.
and years. And so of course my weight's up a little higher. Now it makes perfect sense, but we don't make it mean anything. We just look at the facts. And
Okay.
as it's holding on to more water and I'm building
Mm.
more muscle. I'm looking at my muscle composition, not and watching my
Right.
fat
That
go down
makes
again. So
I think
yeah.
I think it's more for me, I've always looked at how do I fit in my clothes?
Mhm. Yes. However, that is good, but
Mhm.
knowing your body composition is also really
Oh,
important, Lisa,
okay.
because knowing your visceral fat, which is the fat all inside that you
Mm,
can't grab. It's
mhm,
that I've had people 110 pounds, 105 pounds, skinny fat. So,
mhm.
yes, they feel good in their clothes, but when we did their visceral fat, it was very unhealthy inside.
So
So,
this is what you do in your program. So do you
not that. That's what I do more in my one-on-one that we
one-on-one. Okay.
however, I
Mm,
am looking at in the future, I know there's gonna be at the next level. I have the
okay.
name for it and everything, but
Oh,
all that
really?
takes time to create. Like, I took
Right.
3 months just to create the Feel Like Mind and Body program, like 3 months devoted to it. Sticky notes everywhere, like,
Right.
this journey, what does she
Mm,
need next? And then moving it around. And so it's always fun because in, a coaching
mm,
call, they will have a question, and I'm like, "Oh, that's in this week's module coming up." So
mhm.
they're ready. It's a natural progression, and it doesn't feel so like, fire
Right.
hose with everything. The modules are dripped every week, so as not to put you in overwhelm. They're
Right.
rich, they're deep. They aren't something you just listen and go, "Oh, I knew that." There's a few
Right.
in there, but there's so many new things that I've learned that they're loving. So, yeah,
That's amazing. How long is the program? Or
3
does it depend?
months.
3 months. I
3
figured.
months, right, because it really could be 6 months. We
Right.
do 3 months, and then they always get a discount offer to go through it again, and the majority
Right.
wanna go through it again
And
because
they work.
it's more integration too. It's just more integration because think
Mm,
about it, we've had years and years of
mhm.
doing what we do, and we've had that habit. It takes some time. That's why if someone wants a quick fix, I'm like,
Right. You're not.
I could help you do that, but you're not gonna
Mhm.
like it, and it's not gonna be a great testimony,
Ah,
later when, all of that. So I'm not into
families.
the quick stuff. I'm
Right.
into the sustainability and enjoying life. Like, we have
Mm,
exception eats that we call. So
mhm.
nothing is taboo. So if you're feeling I always say to them, "If you're feeling deprived, let's
Mhm.
talk." I don't want anyone to feel
Right.
deprived. There's no need for deprivation.
Right.
It's a whole shift in the way you think about things. And
Hmm.
most people, like I have foods now, fudge is one thing. I now am so aware, I have been for quite a few years now, of how it feels like somebody has just injected me food with the narcotic or with the tranquilizer. And so I'm no good
Hmm.
for. So I've made the decision that I've had enough fudge for the rest of my life. I don't need
Right.
any more. Do I still want it in the moment? Yes, but all I have to think of is how do I want to feel?
How do you
Literally
want
a
to
hit
feel?
an hour later. So Cora's, I can go in there now and go buy that fudge. It's sitting there and go, whew, don't want that. I want my energy today.
Right.
And I can't feel deprived. It feels really nurturing for me and empowering.
Yeah. That's amazing. I like that. That's happening to me with sleep a little bit.
Mm,
I'm needing more sleep, and for a long time I ignored it. And then when I
yes.
started to get it, like actually go to bed early, um, and I'm getting to sleep and I'm feeling like good. I don't have a slump in the
Mhm,
day. And I go,
mhm.
oh, all right.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's kind
Yeah.
of listening to the body, which I think you do, you can, but what are you going to do with that information? You're going to listen to
Right.
it, or are you going to just ignore it and go through it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we often resist it. I know for me, I resisted sleep as well because it was like, I want to do this or I want to get this done or I might miss
Yeah.
out on something. And then it's just flipping that script to, I'm going to miss out on feeling energized tomorrow. And now
Yeah.
I look forward to it. I love my nighttime routine. I
Mm,
love it. I go to bed with such gratitude because it's a practice now.
right.
So, and how we go to bed, what we're thinking about and how we go to bed is how we're going to wake up.
Exactly. Yeah, this is true. Um, yeah, and I've started to, I think, put my phone away a lot more.
Mhm.
That's another habit that
Mhm.
interrupts things without realizing it.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah, and I mean, we all are. It's such an unconscious way because our neural
Mm,
pathway is so established of, "Oh, a ding, reach." We don't even really think about it. So I
mhm.
have to put it out of sight. If it's in
Yeah.
sight, I'm on there even with all the best intentions. So that's kinda
Mhm.
like I think of it as a guardrail I put up so it keeps me
Mm,
from going off what I really want. So and I still sometimes I still do because I'm like, "Well, I haven't got on for a while, I wanna scroll." But on the nights when I have that right before going to bed, I
right.
sleep score. I track my sleep.
Oh, yeah, you
So
have an aura
Mhm.
ring. That's right.
So I track my sleep, and sure enough, I'm not getting the right combination of REM and the deep sleep. So
Mhm.
I'm like, hmm. So every time, instead of like getting all mad at yourself, you're like, okay, good to know, good
For
reminder
next
again.
time.
Let's keep
Yeah.
going.
So, Clorinda, how long have you been doing the Feel Light Mind and Body program? How many years?
That I had get certified as a life coach
Hmm.
like 2 weeks before COVID hit.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so that pivoted me on
Hmm.
what I thought I was going to be doing with the life coaching, like
Hmm.
more in person, because I had been doing in person,
Right.
sitting here in my home with people
Mhm.
for that year while I was going through the training as practice. I was doing it for free. I just wanted to really start to build
Mhm.
this skill set.
Right.
And some said, no, I want to pay you. I want to keep going. This is amazing. You know,
Mhm.
some people with their relationships, we were doing a lot with relationships
Mhm.
because, of course, people were drawn to what I had gone through and how do
Mhm.
you remain so positive? Well,
Mhm.
I'm not, yes, positive is good, but it's more balanced because I didn't want to feel all positive about everything that happened. And I didn't want to feel all negative. I want to find the balance
Find the
because
balance.
balance keeps you from the big highs and the big lows. It just keeps you
Mhm.
on that even, solid, grounded, being able to, be out of your emotion and more into your intellect, all of those things.
And being
So,
like authentic and real, because I think feeling positive all the time, is that toxic positivity. I think that you
yes,
can't feel that. I mean, you can, but you have to go through whatever, you have to feel whatever emotion in order to go
exactly.
through it so you can come out on the other side. But
Absolutely.
yeah.
Otherwise, too, you look like you are like unattainable. Like, oh, what she has is not even possible. And while I
Right.
never got on and ditched people, I never got on and woe is me. I wanted to make sure
Hmm.
there's a saying that I don't know who said it, but I love it, is to talk about something too soon, like on social media, especially.
Mm-hmm.
And when their wound is still oozing,
Mm-hmm.
not wise. You want to make sure
Right.
it's stabbed over. And so it's not
Take a
oozing.
pause. Yeah.
And you can
Yeah.
talk wisdom. And then you're not into
Mm,
all about what's happening. I always looked at how can this help some other woman? Like
right.
that's how can I add value? How can I help give them hope and shift from
Mm.
that helpless feeling that I knew very well.
And
Well,
those
from
are
my
all
mom and then from
beautiful.
me.
I was going to say these are all beautiful questions, and I just want to go back to your mom a bit. So you watched as a little girl, and did you end up helping your mom? Was she one of your
Yeah.
clients? Oh, yeah,
Yeah. However, it felt too late by the
too
time
late.
it's knowledge. Now,
Mm,
can't retain. So with dementia, she's
okay,
still in the present, but 6 seconds later, we just
right.
loop.
Okay.
But when I was, before it got to this point, before when it was like she forgot what happened yesterday,
Mm,
she can remember
mhm,
what happened today.
mhm,
She came down, she would sit on the couch and I'd watch and she'd be reading all my books and she'd be saying, if I had only known this before, oh my
mm,
goodness, and then, we played that podcast of her and I together.
right.
Oh my gosh, I can't remember how many times. She does never remembers that she's been on it.
Yeah.
Like, so do you think this helped anybody? Because
Ah,
she said, I don't feel like I am offering any, I'm no good for nothing some days. Pretty much. And
yeah.
I'm like, oh, Mom, you are. And then I'll read like
Yeah.
I I've done live videos before on Facebook with her and I'll read some of the comments. I'm like, no, 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 Mom,
Mm,
you're still inspiring people. And she is an
amazing.
inspiration. But to see
Wow.
Mom be so positive and push herself and be her best self for everybody else, but not prioritize herself.
Mhm,
And I was starting to fall in that same
mhm, mhm.
rut without really noticing it. And we get wake up calls. And when I get the wake up call, I was able to go inward and go, okay, we need like a rehaul here. And
Mhm.
let's really figure out your values and your priorities and then how you help others. We have to help ourselves first. If we're
That's
not
so
doing it,
true.
we're
You're
not doing it. How can we really effectively and authentically help others?
you're so right. It's sort of filling yourself up, and then you help from the overflow. That's
Yes.
when you can help others. I learned that through Laura McPhee, who was on another guest on my podcast.
I'll
She's
have to
a
listen.
theta and energy healer. Yeah, she was earlier on. And she's someone I went to after a sort of a disaster or whatever. I can't think of a better word, but after I needed a pivot, I needed a reset, and working with her really helped. But it was you cannot, because I think I was a giver and a pleaser too,
Yes.
and I was
Yes.
pleasing from empty. A
Yes.
lot of times from
Exactly.
an empty place, and nothing was filling me back up. So then I learned it wasn't selfish to do that
No.
first. It was actually, it was amazing.
Yeah. I say the
And
same. You want to pour from the saucer
yeah,
rather than from the cup, if
from the
possible,
cup.
but at least keep your cup full because I
And
can't
see,
always pour from my saucer.
no,
You know,
sometimes you need a reserve, and you need to keep the cup full.
yes. But
Yeah,
sometimes there's no overflow, but I can still give from my full cup. It's just I've got to be very aware that I'm doing it because that's life. That's realistic,
that is,
right?
you're right. And I think a lot
When
of women fall into that category where you have families or whatever. Even if you don't have children, you're still in that role of giving, 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 and then you need to, then you burn out.
That's right. And
Yeah,
and for me, having the nurse, I was the nurse to the
you're
community. I
right.
was the nurse to both
Yeah,
sides of the family, everything. And I could
right.
give then. But then suddenly it felt like,
Mm,
how can I give? Because my cup wasn't full enough. How can I give in a different way? And that's when I
mhm,
started to build into myself and getting more tools in my toolbox, knowing that maybe I can't give as much as I want now, but I'm setting myself up. I'm equipping
right.
myself and I think that's with women getting in their healthiest state. If they
Mhm,
can just think, it doesn't mean I have to dismiss everybody else, but I have to include myself in the priorities. So it's not everyone else is a priority. It's we are the priority. They're
right.
responsible for themselves. I can inspire them. And when women start taking
Mhm,
care of themselves and get their health, there's less resentment, there's less
mhm,
judgment, there's more love, there's more connection. I even I think it was just maybe 3 weeks into the course. I had one lady before. get on our group coaching call, and she said, we were talking about our wins, and she said, I undressed in front of my husband for the first time in I don't know how long.
Mm.
And she goes, I didn't even realize it. And he's like, whoa, I haven't seen this in a while.
Right.
And I knew she had shared how much she had lost and how much she wanted to
Wow.
lose. And, she had only lost 5 pounds. And, she
That
had
was
this.
enough to make her feel better. Yeah.
Right. So I asked in the group coaching call, knowing this, but I'm like, and do you mind sharing how much you've lost? And she laughed and she was only 5 pounds. She was like, not enough in my past self to think, oh, I can now,
Right.
do this. So the ripple effect on the relationships and the connectivity is just those are just the benefits, the added benefits. So
And
it's so
also,
much more than about our weight, Lisa. Like weight is
yeah.
literally just a symptom. And it's a symptom of what we're thinking. It's a symptom of what we're feeling. It's a symptom of how we're valuing ourselves and our health
Mm.
and our future self. I talk a lot about our past, present, and future self and merging
Okay.
them together.
Okay. I want to get back to that, but I just thought of something as you said, this woman. It's sometimes too, I think as women, we don't celebrate anything.
Mhm.
We don't celebrate even the little wins like that. For her was such a big,
Yes,
you know what I mean? To celebrate that
absolutely.
and recognize, because we just keep doing instead of
That's
celebrating.
right. I
But
actually have a tool, a free tool. I think it might
mm,
be, I don't know if we have it set up on the website yet, but if not, if anyone reaches out, I can give it. It's micro wins. So it's a tracker. And it's
okay.
not just putting your wins. We look at what is the thought that you had and what is the feeling, what is made
Mm,
the action, so that we can start realizing and start to build that belief muscle of, oh, when I think this way, or when I do this thing, or when I feel this way, here's my win. It's worth doing.
right. Right. So Clarinda, you also mentioned you'd had a little bit of a free program, and that I think we talked about it before we pressed record, but some people can do that so they get an idea of maybe
Yes.
what your full program is like. And do you want to talk about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. And of course, it's one of the first programs I did because I wanted to lead off with that and giving value.
Right.
So I kind of, when I look back, I kind of cringe a little bit at my videos.
Oh,
It's real. And people are still saying, oh my gosh,
yeah.
that was so helpful. So I still
Yeah.
am keeping it on there. I'm not going to be all critical of myself.
Is that on
So
your
it's
website?
called,
Okay,
it
go ahead.
is,
Sorry.
it is, I'm pretty sure it is. I've linked it to my podcast in the
Okay.
descriptions or the free consult, because those are 2 things I love to just share. But
Mhm.
it's basically called 5 steps so your clothes feel looser.
Ooh, love
Yeah.
it. So,
And
okay.
so we find out your why in there, like your true why. And,
Mhm.
we just go through it. So it's 5 videos, just short. I think they're like
Mhm.
from 3 to 8 minutes, maybe, because I like bite-sized pieces so that we can
Right.
absorb it and integrate it. And then there's a guide sheet for each one. Because again,
Okay.
integration is huge. We don't want to just add more information without like thinking about it and applying it to
Being
how
it.
it
Yeah.
works for us. So
Right. That's amazing. So, and then, so if people want to reach out to you, like to work with you, you said you have a free intro call kind of thing.
the best way is to go to www.clarendasempowerment
Mhm.
coaching, I think. No, clarendasempowerment.com.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. And on that, right at the very top in the header, they can do the free consult right there.
Okay. There.
So
And then the 5 steps would be,
I think then on the header, I should have been looking at this ahead of time, but
that's okay.
courses, I
Okay.
think
And it's
there's a
in here.
part for courses, and I think the free 5 steps would pop down from that. If not, they can reach out to me, Clarenda
Okay.
Price. Love to have connections with other women on Facebook, both my
Right.
personal page, and I have a Facebook page,
Okay.
business, Clarenda's Empowerment Coaching too, and
And
Instagram and
okay.
LinkedIn.
Right on. Okay. All of the usual places.
And new on YouTube, which again,
Right.
it's a
Okay.
video thing. I love being on with you, but when it's just me and the camera, I'm like, ugh. Duh. Again, it's to get over ourselves. It's part of my growth. So that
Yeah.
I'm new to YouTube. So I'd love if anyone wants to
Okay.
subscribe to
Yeah. I'll subscribe to you
get
because I want the
going.
same. I want
Yeah,
people to
yeah,
subscribe
I'll
to my
do.
page.
I think I
Um,
am too.
okay, good. Do you have specific times where people start, or is it like they start whenever they're ready?
I used to have it so that it was spring. I think we did one in January, spring, and fall. But what
Right.
I'm finding and why I changed everything on the back end
Mm,
is now you can sign up at any time, because I
mm,
believe
when
I
you're
thought
ready.
it was a barrier to others, and they'd be like waiting, and I'd give them a free course, and they were
Mhm.
waiting, and I'm like,
Mhm.
that's wasted time. Life is too short. Our health
Mhm.
is too short. So I
Mhm.
revamped it also. People can start now. When it's ready,
Okay.
when they're ready, they can start now, and
Okay.
they join in, and there's a richness of having a mix of people in different. Like I have women who've been through it 2 to 3 times, and they add a
Right.
different value to it. And
Right.
people who've been hesitant of, oh, I don't know about a group coaching call.
Mm.
One, they can do one on one, but the group, everyone ends up saying that's their favorite night of the week because we're
Right.
real. We're just real
Real,
women.
and you're meeting other women, yeah,
And
like-minded. Yeah.
yeah, and
Or
they
at least,
suddenly go, oh, it's
yeah.
not just me that struggles with that. Oh, I'm not,
Right.
they can stop the judgment of realizing, oh, I
Mhm.
teach the brain science. Once you realize that, oh, this is just literally what my brain does,
Mhm.
and this is how I can like little hacks to shift that. Even for like, I help people deal with urges. And we have a brain
Oh.
hack for that. So that when you feel the urge, you don't have to resist it. You don't have to white knuckle it. You can allow it to be there and just let
Mhm.
let it move because it's just an emotion. Like it's just a
Right.
feeling, having that urge to do something. Um, so yeah, that's
Mm.
why I want people to be able to join in at any time and not to fear being in a group. It's so confidential. Everything's private in there. And then there's always a
Mm.
replay for people who can't join because I
Right.
have people in different time zones from the West
Yeah.
Coast to New York to Louisiana and here, but it's still
Well,
small and intimate.
that's the beauty, I guess, of after COVID. A lot of this
Yes.
virtual stuff is it's mainstream now. At first, it was like,
Yes.
a shocker.
Exactly. People of
Yeah.
all ages know how to use Zoom now.
Yeah,
So
this is true.
that was a real benefit for me pivoting and doing things online.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Um, okay, I want to ask you a couple questions that I've kind of asked all my guests at the sort of towards the end. And if there was anything else you wanted to say, we could have some space for that too. But
Yes.
one of them is, what makes you feel most alive?
Oh, that's a good one. What makes me feel most alive? There's so many things. From I mean, from can I feel like my business and
You
my
can,
personal kind of?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes.
So what came to mind first of all, business is when women say, "I actually feel so much lighter. Thank
Mm.
you. Like I don't feel that heaviness anymore." When I see that transformation within, or when they say, losing weight was great, but the emotional, the mental weight that I
Mm.
lost is worth way more than my
Okay.
physical weight, even,
Ah,
you know? So
yeah.
that would be my favorite for my business. In personal, what makes me feel most alive? Oh, it's probably just being out in nature and
Mhm.
just I'm in such gratitude. I'm just like looking up and going like, God, you're amazing. Oh my gosh, you created all
Mhm.
this. And I know everyone
Mhm.
has different beliefs, but I'm being authentically
Yeah.
me here.
Yeah.
And just coming to the energy, the energy out in
Mhm.
the negative ions, all of those things is so amazing. Putting my feet in the ocean and on the ground and
Mhm.
getting some earthing in, like all of that
Mhm.
shifts. It's all part of our health.
Mhm.
And to me, our health is our greatest wealth. And there's nothing that, because when we're healthy, we're connected, we are energized,
Feel good. Yeah, I
we're
agree.
not out of worry. Like we know we can get down and up without a problem. We're not going to,
Mhm.
we can keep up with kids and grandkids and we can keep up with friends and all of those things. And that's part of feeling alive and enjoying life to its fullest.
Amazing.
I also guess I feel alive when I'm learning.
Oh,
Because
that's amazing.
when we're learning, we're growing, we're
Right.
expanding. We're not just stuck in a stagnated
And
state.
feeling, and when you're willing to go, like, feel a little uncomfortable, like you said, I love how you said that because it's true. There is always growth there. If you
Yeah.
can get used to feeling in that you're learning something, whenever you're learning something new, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you
It
can get
is.
used to being in that stage, because it's not bad, you know that it's actually something good is happening.
Yeah.
And then when you've
Yeah.
learned something bad, then you can move on to something else. So if you get used to that space, then you can keep going. That's amazing.
That's right. Another way you
Uh,
could say that is, would you rather be
mm,
comfortable now and
mm,
uncomfortable later?
mm,
Or would you
mhm.
rather be a bit uncomfortable now? Because face it, it's just a bit
Yeah,
uncomfortable. It's not
a bit.
crazy.
No.
So that you can be comfortable later because
Mm,
all of that compound effect, like what you're doing today and
mhm.
tomorrow and the next day is creating our future self.
This is so true. Okay. Thank you for that. And one more question for you.
Okay.
Soul's Kitchen. So ingredients. So what would be your favorite ingredient in life? It doesn't have to be a food. It could be, or just something that comes to mind.
It's absolutely, it's love/gratitude because they're both the
Oh,
same. Love,
oh,
gratitude, and connection are like my
love it.
three main things.
I love
Because
it.
from that, everything else, yeah, it's just, I
Mm.
love it.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Thank you, Clarissa. Was there anything else that you would like to talk about before I think we're coming to a very
Yeah.
flowy conclusion. I think people know how to find you. They know what you do. We know how you made your decisions to do I think it was always in you. It sounds like it was always there
Yeah.
as you
And I think for people to know too, I don't think it's just one set thing. Like a lot of times
No.
people come to me and say, what is my purpose in life, Linda? I want to help. Can you help me find my purpose?
Mm.
And I say, what if your purpose is simply loving those around you? Like, I think we often are
Mhm.
hard on ourselves and think it has to be this great big thing. But
I
again, that's
agree.
why I think love, connection, gratitude, if you
Yeah.
have those in your life, you're obviously living in your higher values, or
Hmm.
else you wouldn't feel it. And that is your purpose. Our values lead to our identity. I do like a 3-part series on helping people get clear on their values and their identity and then their purpose/mission/vision. And
Right.
it's been
Love that.
empowering. It's been very empowering for professionals as well as just on a personal level. But
Or
the
is
one
like,
thing I thought, oh, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, who do you want to be today? And then do everything that aligns with that. And then don't do whatever else. I guess that's what was coming to my mind.
100%. Or if you do the whatever else that you're not supposed to be doing in your
Yeah.
mind, be gracious with yourself, be
Hmm.
compassionate, and let the inner critic is there for a reason.
Hmm.
Don't dismiss her or him, however you want to identify it with. It's like, okay, let's look at it as information, but we can tweak the
Mm.
tone of it. Like we can
Right.
definitely, but I'm thankful for my inner critic because sometimes it's like, it's just giving me that little nudge. It's almost like my
Mm.
higher self, if it's got the right attitude,
Right.
to
Yeah.
go, you could do better, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Two of the questions, a couple of podcasts ago, this would be helpful for your listeners too, is
Mm.
I had 5 questions to ask yourself before going to bed.
Mm. Okay.
If you want the best sleep. And my clients have listened to it as well, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm using this." Because right now, 2 of the 5 questions I already have on a sheet that they do, but then I
Okay.
added 3 more to it.
Mm.
And
Okay.
just so your listeners know, I tend to keep my podcast short unless I'm doing
Okay.
an interview because
Right.
it's these
Yes.
thriving, busy women that tend to be here that are having
Right.
success in so many other areas of life, but they're struggling with and overwhelmed with all the weight loss stuff and energy and all of
Okay.
that. So I want to keep it bite sized so we can
Mm.
integrate it. And it's not like, oh, I'll get to that later. No, it's
Right.
between 8 and 20 minutes, usually
Right.
max. If it's me, 8 to 16 is probably,
Right.
I think this one coming out this week is like 9 minutes. So
Okay. Well, that's good to know. But I love how our conversation flowed, and we're way past 8 minutes, but that's okay.
well, no, interviews are good. Interviews
No,
I could do
yeah.
longer. So.
I mean, I could talk to you forever, but I really appreciate you being on the show, and look forward to I have another idea that I'll talk to you about after we end record and see
Sure.
what your thoughts are on that. And yeah, thank you so much, Clarinda.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate
Thank you.
on the Soul's Kitchen. All right,
Yeah, thank you.
we'll see you soon.
Okay.